What up, all my fight fans? So, during the press conference, Dana White was asked about Francis Ngannou's deal. He was asked about, his new PFL deal, and they asked the question of what he thought about it. Pretty much what Dana White pretty much said was that he doesn't understand it. He didn't get it. He pretty much had said a few things regarding Francis, saying how he feels like Francis doesn't want to take chances. He feels like Francis doesn't really want to fight. He feels like Francis is pretty much trying his best to look for an easier path, I guess, in a sense. And I personally disagree. I really strongly disagree with that. Like, yes, PFL would never have been my first choice for Francis. My first and only choice would have been for him to stay in the UFC. But more to that is, you look at the deals that Dana White was trying to make with Francis. First and foremost, he says about that whole $8 million fight for Jon Jones. That does sound like a great deal, but what more was to it, to that contract? Was there more to that contract? Was maybe it was just $8 million for that Jon Jones fight, and then it was going to be maybe $1 million or $2 million for the rest of his fights? Where Francis Ngannou has a potential much more multi-million dollar contract where he could be making much more. That's one. Two, Dana White pretty much said like he doesn't consider what Francis is doing like good or whatever. I'm not quoting him on this one, but I'm just kind of pretty much breaking down to what he said about the fact that Francis Ngannou is trying to box. And Francis Ngannou wants to box, and he wants to go after Anthony Joshua. He wants to go after Deontay Wilder. And pretty much Dana White said he does not do that there. My question to him is why? Why don't he do that? Seriously, it is a big money-making fight. If Francis Ngannou fights Tyson Fury, you're going to tell me it's not going to be making quite a few $1 million? It's not going to break the box office? It's not going to sell more pay-per-views than any of his UFCs? I promise you it would. I promise you it would. It would come close to most of his UFCs. Maybe not the top ones, but definitely will break a lot of his UFC records, for sure. For sure. Of course, we already know Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather did it. They broke some records themselves. So, hey, it's not a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Maybe as big as that is, could be, potentially, yes. But there's other fights that he could do with a Tyson Fury and and Francis Ngannou. That could be a big multi-million dollar record-breaking fight. It could be. And you can still keep your guy there. You still keep your guy in the UFC. You still keep your guy facing Jon Jones, facing Stipe, facing Tai Tuivasa. All these other really great heavyweights. We could still have that, but we don't. Why? Because it feels like UFC wants things done their way and their way only. And Dana White clearly said he does not do that there. He doesn't put on these little spectacles, or I'm not sure what word he used at that term, what term that he used regarding what Francis Ngannou is trying to do. And it's like, the guy's trying to look out for himself. The guy's trying to get paid. The guy's trying to make more money than what you're trying to give him. And at the end of the day, there's no shame on that. There's no shame on that. Like, yeah, you're trying to say he's trying to take the easier route, or he's not trying to take less chances, or trying to take less chances. I'm sorry, but a guy named Francis Ngannou trying to go in the ring, that's not taking less chances. That's actually taking a lot of risk. You're going into a sport that you know nothing about, next to nothing, because I'm sure he's trained boxing before, but you have no prior experience. Sure, you got hands. Sure, you got power, but you still have no experience. None whatsoever. You don't have an amateur record. You're not a Golden Gloves. You don't have nothing. Zero. And you're trying to go against the baddest man on the planet. The baddest men on the planet, I should say. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. That is taking a lot of chances. Because I promise you, you put any heavyweight, you put two heavyweights in there, UFC heavyweights in the ring with any of these men, they're getting knocked clean out. 100%. You put them in there 1 round, boom. Put another heavyweight, 1 round, boom. Put another heavyweight, 1 round, boom. That's taking a chance. That's taking a big risk for Francis Ngannou. That's something that he really wants to do. He said he might not fight for MMA until the following year, which is true. Okay, fine. But he's trying to line up a boxing fight. So you got to give him that. 100%. You definitely do. Now, I am 100% on Dana's side where he should be in the UFC. 100%. I really want to see that Jon Jones fight. That Jon Jones fight should definitely 100% happen. But unfortunately, let's really not all of a sudden say, oh, well, he wants to avoid Jon Jones. No, because Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou wanted that fight a long time ago. They wanted this fight a couple years ago, as a matter of fact. And Dana White refused to pay that kind of money to make that fight happen, even though he knew 100% that he was going to make a lot of money when these guys fought. These guys could have fought one, two, three times by now. Three times by now. And they could have made multi-million dollars making in that fight. Giving these guys 8, 9, $10 million. And I promise you the UFC would not even missed it. It would have been chump change, pocket change compared to what they would have made if they would have just allowed back in 2020 or back in 2019 when they were both talking about this fight. Excuse me, maybe around 2021 when they were both talking about it. Maybe not 2019, but when Francis Ngannou won the heavyweight championship, or when Jon Jones was talking about potential coming back, or whatever the case may be, back when all this was going down, they were in talks about making this fight happen. Jon Jones wanted Deontay Wilder money. Francis Ngannou really wanted to make this fight happen. They were both talking, and Dana White and the UFC was just not allowing it to happen because they didn't want to pay these guys. This fight 100% could have happened. So let's not try to play the blame game, and let's not really try to put out, point the finger. Oh, this fight was because of you. It didn't happen because of you, or you. No, it's not like that. It's because of everybody. Francis Ngannou could go back to the UFC, but unfortunately, he's looking out for himself, and he wants to make more money. Jon Jones could have came back sooner, but instead he came back in now, this year, 2023. He could have came in 2020, 2021, or 2022, but he came back 2023 when Francis Ngannou was pretty much already trying to get out the door. Dana White had also said that he's only fought 3 times in 3 years. It's because we already know how the UFC works. Quite possibly, they wanted him to fight more times so they could sign a contract so he could get frozen in, just like they do. They like to do that. They like to do that championship where they will keep you for longer. You win a championship fight, you win a championship round, your contract gets extended instead of them negotiating, maybe more deals, maybe something. He says 100% that they try to negotiate with Francis, but we don't know the details. It could have been anything. It could have been maybe like, oh, well, we'll give you a couple million here and there. Or it could have been a lot more money. You never know. We don't know the details of what was going on at that dinner that they were trying to do. Maybe there was a lot more to it than we don't know from Francis and from Dana. But at the end of the day, Francis Ngannou made these fights. Francis Ngannou completed his contract, and Francis Ngannou is looking out for himself and looking to get more. And look at, he's actually trying to get other people paid. Other people paid. He got paid as an opponent or paid as a champion $600,000, and yet he is making sure that the people that face him aren't gonna aren't gonna get paid that, aren't gonna get anywhere near that. They're gonna get the millions because why? He's a big attraction. He's a big draw. Now, are people gonna pay to see him? That's a different story. Or is he gonna have really good blockbustering fights? That's a different story. There's a lot of different stories regarding to the PFL because yes, the lack of people in the PFL, unfortunately, is true. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There isn't a large roster of heavyweights in the PFL that really screams like, oh my God, that is pay-per-view, that is must-see TV. There really isn't. But at the end of the day, that's where he went, and that's where we have to count on his blessing. And we cannot go on and on about this Jon Jones thing. We can't. Because, I know Dana White likes to use that, and I know Dana White likes to say, like, oh, he wants to take less chances. I promise you, none of your other heavyweights are trying to take chances like he is. None of them. You look at Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz. He's taking chances as well, trying to get paid more, going after risk. Hell, at the end of the day, Nate Diaz has often said that he would love to fight Canelo Alvarez. Are you telling me that's not a risk? Yeah, is that fight not going to get made? No, it probably won't. Probably never will happen. But at the end of the day, you're going to tell me that's not a risk? It's 100% risk. Are you going to really sit there and tell me that Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury, that's not a risk? It's a big risk. And he's taking a big risk on himself right now. So that's 100% a very false narrative that Dana White's pretty much putting out there. I definitely am a big fan of the UFC. I am 100%. But I really wish they were able to come contracts. I really wish they were able to come in, to really come to terms with this contract, I should say. I really wish that Dana White would allow his fighters to go out there and box while they're under contract with him. Fine, you want to go get paid multi-millions, you want to get paid $10, $20 million to face Canelo, face Tyson Fury, face Floyd Mayweather, go ahead, go do it. I 100% respect you, go ahead, make it happen. But at the end of the day, you come over here, you fight MMA, you're going to get paid this much because I pay people this much. Like it or not, that's just how it is. That's just how it is. Because at the end of the day, guess what? These guys are not, it's not going to destroy their reputation. It's not going to destroy their career. Like Conor McGregor, it didn't destroy nothing. It made him even that much more bigger. That much more bigger. Because it's a different sport. No matter what your training is. I'm sorry. An MMA fighter is not really going to beat a boxer, and a boxer is never really going to beat an MMA fighter. There are certain things that you can actually come to terms with, like, of course, Anderson Silva beat Chavez Jr. and whatnot. So yeah, there's probably a few fighters that has actually happened, sure, but that's the whole point. Like, hey, you can do the both sports if you want to. That's my personal feeling, and that's what Francis Ngannou wanted. He wanted that freedom, and that's the freedom that the UFC should allow. And what's wrong with that? What UFC? You do not like money? You do not think you're going to be making multi-million dollars when you allow your fighters to go fight big fights, big money fights out there? Jesus Christ, you're going to make a lot of money, And I was like, you do not want that? It just really, really mind boggles me. It really puzzles me on why this is not being allowed more in the UFC. Why the freedom is not being allowed. What the argument is going to say, oh, well, they're going to tarnish their record. They're MMA fighters going against boxers. It is what it is. If they lose, oh well. They can still come back and do what they're really good at. If they win, hey, even better. That's it. It's not going to destroy anything. That's just my personal feeling. So there you have it right there. Francis Ngannou's in the PFL. He signed a multi-million-dollar contract. I'm sure he's going to get paid really well. I'm sure there's a boxing fight that's going to come into fruition very soon. Hopefully it does very soon. And at the end of the day, we can see what happens. And maybe, who knows? Maybe Francis Ngannou was right and he makes a lot of money, or Dana was right and it was just the wrong decision to do. You never know. So guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about all this? What do you think regarding Francis Ngannou? What do you think regarding Dana White? What do you think about this whole contract? Do you think Francis Ngannou make the right move? Do you think Dana White said all the right things? Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.